Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here today. We're going to take a quick look at ILV, which is Illuvium. And just before we do, quick peek at Bitcoin so we know exactly what's going on there, because I think it's important to understand this. And the reason why is just because we're kind of stuck near the bottom half of 56,000, or this parameter between 56 and 58. And it is creating somewhat of a descending wedge pattern, right? So the price is kind of working its way down into a wedge, kind of following the 50-day simple moving average. So ultimately, the price may break to the downside here soon based on that sentiment that we have kind of a continuation. It's a bearish continuation where the price comes down and then eventually breaks to the downside. Okay, so that's a possibility, right? We can't avoid understanding that it might happen. Obviously, the price could turn around at any moment. We never truly know. But that 50-day simple moving average is going to be working as a resistance level for the moment, and we'll see in the next day or two how that responds, right? That's an important indication, something we need to pay attention to. And just before we take a look at ILV, just so you know, I'm not a financial advisor, right? This is for educational purposes only, but I like to help educate people on how to become better traders, more self-sufficient. So I recommend doing as much research as you can, of course, on your own, but integrating perhaps some of the strategies I have as well to make sure that you become a better trader. I have a trading community designed to ensure that you are on the right track and you can get to that point. Right. So you're going to learn a lot, obviously, if you want to check that out. I also send out signals for every single trade that I take if that is of interest to you. Okay. So consider joining that, of course. And why don't we do this? We'll go take a look at the one-day chart first and see what's going on and then work our way down. Obviously, we've got a tremendous amount of volume in the last 24 hours. And look at this here. We've got an increase of somewhere around about the range about 60%, almost 60% in the last 2 trading days. So that's awesome. It's peaking up over 70 in the RSI. I love to see when that happens. That could effectively work as a support level. So what we might see is a previous resistance level here, right about 1381 being considered a new support. We'll look at Fibonacci retracement, kind of reaffirm that, but that's usually how it works. But we do get a nice little MACD convergence here on the one-day chart. So all good things here for ILV. And it makes sense as well, too, with it being a gaming coin, that it will likely have a continuation of the upside based on the simple fact that every other gaming coin right now is just taking off. It's just kind of the way it goes. And we're entering gaming season too. I mean, people are more likely to want to do gaming during the holidays. So I think that has a lot to do with it too, especially coming out on Thanksgiving, some really cool game releases here, multiplayer stuff. It's interesting how it's all working. So taking a look here at the moving averages, first of all, we got a little MACD convergence correction, not a MACD convergence, but a convergence nonetheless on the 50-day and the 200-day simple moving average, but those are working as a support level here. We can see the RSI tapering off down closer to 70. This is actually good. This is healthy. We want to see the RSI come back down under 70 on the 4-hour chart because remember, it responds quicker to price action. Therefore, it's one of those charts, charting tool that essentially you want it to actually be under 70, not over 70. So between 50 and 70 is ideal for the RSI on the 4-hour. This basically just means it got a little too high, a little too big for its britches, and it has to come back down a little bit. In fact, we can see on TD sequential pretty clear we're right at a 9, which effectively just means that we are right at the point in which we expect a turnaround should go either sideways or retrace. It's starting to retrace, but we'll look at smaller time frames to identify if there's any patterns forming, but that does look pretty good right now. So I like to see this little red candle, believe it or not. It's actually a very good thing because that way we can go ahead and have a nice healthy continuation without getting blown out of the water later. All right, so all good things there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 1-hour chart, see what the Ichimoku Cloud's telling us. Pretty much tells us we're still in very good shape, right? So if you can see this conversion line is much higher than the baseline. Once they start to intersect, that's a case in point where you want to close your position or exit your position. So you either do that first or you wait for this lagging span to intersect with the price action and then close your position. Whichever happens first is perfectly fine. This usually happens first, but once this happens and one or the other, okay, just a simple way to understand it. Just make sure you pay attention to both, but the Ichimoku Cloud is really awesome at kind of helping you get that understanding of when to exit your position. We don't necessarily have to exit it yet. We could see a nice continuation of the upside after a period of consolidation. And then that would effectively continue that momentum, so to speak, and the cloud would just keep pushing it higher. But for right now, it's basically telling us we want to leave our positions open and kind of see if the price continues to go sideways and then up again. If it goes sideways and then retraces, then we exit our position, right? That's kind of the general concept. So all good things here for the cloud. I definitely don't see anything terrible there. I do see, obviously, we're at an overextended state on the 1-hour chart for the TD sequential, so it makes perfect sense as to why we got a reset here. If you see, we didn't have a long enough period of consolidation here to get a reset and just continued upwards. So it basically worked us into about 18 to 24 hour period of just straight bullish momentum, which is all well and good, but it had to max out somewhere, and it definitely did. So not bad. That's definitely not a bad thing. But we just want to be mindful of the fact that this consolidation period right now is very healthy, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So let's take a look at the 4-hour chart and just go ahead and mark some Fibonacci retracement levels and kind of just see where we're going from here. We can obviously see a strong support, potential resistance at about 1484. So 1484 is a potential area there of support and or resistance. So just bear in mind that could essentially work as a support moving forward. And then of course, if we look kind of back here as well, no coincidence. Remember how I mentioned the all-time highs usually works as a support as well? That line falls almost exactly on Fibonacci retracement, and that is right around 1372. So 1372 is a nice secondary support level to 1484 if we lose that as a support. So just say price continues sideways and comes down, legs down here. This should be the bottom for the most part. When we have momentous plays like this, the previous all-time high becomes a new support almost every single time. It's a very consistent scenario. So hypothetically, if we do lose this support here at 1484, we'll see 1372 as a really strong secondary support level. So I like to see this. Worst case scenario, the price just kind of channels in here and then legs up again. It would make sense considering how high it went up here. Because bear in mind, again, in the last 24 hours, we saw almost a 57% increase. That's quite significant. We need to recognize that, acknowledge it, and move on. So consolidation retracement is healthy. That's what I'm trying to say here. But all in all, yeah, we got two nice, strong support levels there. We'll bridge the gap later if we need to. Here's another. Oh, this is awesome. Look at this. Every time we see the candlestick closing, look at that 4-hour candlestick close. That was a 4-hour candlestick high. Is right there at 1294. So reaffirming a secondary or tertiary support here for INLV. So awesome stuff. So let's go ahead and go with the best case scenario, because I know that's why you're here, right? You want to know, what's my money going to get me? Where can I be here in so many days? Well, let's take a look at this. I mean, hypothetically, it's taken about 48 hours. Again, just hypothetically, 48 hours to get this amount of growth of about, just say 70% from bottom to top, right? Close enough. If we want to get that same amount of movement, that same amount of progression or increase, it would give us an extra 40%, and that would put us at about 2294 as a potential. So 2294 could be a strong potential for INLV literally in the next 2 days. Should that happen? No, because we need to have consolidation. There's going to be potential retracements, and then of course there's a state of indecision too, where you might get some doji candles. There's a handful of things that could happen. So to me, being more conservative, I would say a week or two is probably more likely, but this very well could happen in 24 to 48 hours, just based on its recent price action. But again, in order for this healthy increase to remain healthy, we need it to go sideways for a little bit more, kind of come up, do one of these, and just kind of keep working its way up, right? That's what we want to see. We don't want to see some just crazy. We don't want to see this parabolic move to the moon, where you get a bunch of idiots tweeting about it, and then of course it comes right back down to where it started. That doesn't help anybody. We want a healthy continuation. If you see something sporadic, or the price shoots up to $2,000 here in the next 24 hours or 12 hours, that would be a problem. That would be problematic. We need consolidation. We need healthy continuations. Every continuation should look at least like a staircase, right? And this is actually a very liberal staircase. I'd prefer the staircase to be like this, right? I think you're getting the point. We want healthy continuation, and if we don't get that, then this could come crashing back down. So just something to consider. But I am bullish on ILV. I like this a lot. It's definitely got some great potential here. I'm going to set an alert for a price right around 1380. So that way we can go ahead and kind of see when, in other words, I'll take another look at this when if the price were to come down that low, and if it does, I might consider taking a position to the upside, because this should work as a strong support level. Right here at about 1380 should be a very strong support for ILV. So if you see a price come down to that point, that would be a great consideration for dollar cost averaging, or maybe consider adding to your position, or even opening a position if you are not currently in here. Okay. So again, just something to consider. Of course, I know that's a bit on the conservative side. That's how I am. I'm sorry. But, I prefer to buy closer to support levels. That's usually how I like to trade. So hopefully you find benefit here, of course. If you do like and subscribe, if you're not currently a patron, please consider subscribing. In fact, one of my patrons requested that I cover this. I think it was Michael, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry if I got your name wrong, but got a lot of members here trying to get everyone to know everyone better, and it's an amazing experience. So thanks again for making that a reality. I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Hope you have a great amazing rest of your day. We'll see you soon. Take care.